Assalamu'Alaikum, hello everyone, how you all doing, and welcome to another Milky Serial highlight video. It's been a while since I did one of these. In the past I did it for F1 series, but as you can see on your screen, we are in an open wheel car, but it's not quite an F1 car. We're racing on the rFactor 2 platform, and these are essentially Formula 3 cars in the series GPVWC. I'll leave a link to the league in the description, and you guys can go and check it out. So this is the Academy Series, and it's round 3 of the championship. I've just joined. It's my first ever race on rFactor 2. I've probably done about maybe 1 to 2 hours of practice on RF2 prior to this race to try to get ready. And we're at Istanbul in Turkey, so it's a track that maybe some of you will remember fondly. We did have it in the actual F1 season not too long ago, and currently we're in practice, about to jump on in for qualifying. But this is the first race of my championship anyway. There's no actual championship points, it's just it's the sub-league of the big leagues in GPVWC to give drivers a chance to prove themselves, see how fast they are before they get underway in some of the bigger series under the GPVWC banner. And also, to top it off, we're not using any setups because I don't have enough time to do setup. I'm just jumping into these. Whatever setup is the default, we're going with that. So without further ado, let's jump on in qualifying. So in qualifying, we're making our way into the final corner. 10 seconds remaining on the clock, and we're currently sitting in P13. A 151.1 is our best lap, but we have a bit of pace to go even quicker. So heading down towards turn 1, you want to be braking after the 100 meter boards at around 80 meters, down into third gear, try to get as much curb as possible, back on the power, and we use up all of the curb on the exit. Now, through turns 2 and 3, I like to keep it rather tight. I know some of the other drivers let it all the way out, but I don't see a need to. Then is a blind left-hander. You drop it down into fourth gear. We run a bit wide, and the back end steps out. We make a massive catch, drop it down into second, and then back on the power as we make our way down the hill. So we've already messed up this lap a lot, but there is still time to be found. We already find some out of the double left-hander, which is rather similar to the double left-hander at Shanghai. Jumping on the brakes at about 70 meters into third gear, you want to get on the power as early as possible, opening up the steering as we make our way towards the famous turns 8, 9, and 10. Oh, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now, this is all completely flat, and it's all about making sure your steering input is as smooth as possible. In fact, I think we might have made a lift just because it wasn't absolutely spot on. Down towards the first of the chicanes, braking after 100 meters, down into third gear. You kiss the curb, back on the power, nice and juicy. Now, as you can see, we haven't quite caught up on the time, and that's because this lap is not faster than our previous best. I'll reveal that one to you guys now, but it was a better lap overall. It was just that really dumb mistake where I went wide through that left-hander, so I wanted to include this lap anyway because I hit a higher high. Down into second gear then for the final part of the circuit. We've already gained a tenth, back on the power, back in steps out momentarily, and then into the left-hander, clip the curb, open up the steering as early as possible. And well, sadly, we are 800ths off our personal best. But that being said, we'll take it. It's a decent lap nonetheless, and we're starting in 13th for our first ever race on rFactor 2. Formation lap coming to a close, and here's the cool thing with RF2. You actually get to position your car at the end of the formation lap. It tells you where you have to stop your car. We've got that red arrow. We bring our car to a stop. We have it pointing in a straight line because, well, I was too scared to make any mistakes for my first ever race start on RF2. I did one race start against some AI, but it's never going to be the same against actual humans. So we ready ourselves up. We put the car into neutral so that we can actually rev the engine without picking up a jump start, because that would be, well, not smart. And on the right hand side of the screen we can see the lights. We get the revs going. We're at 7,000 RPM and away we go. Probably should have had about 8,000-9,000, but we live and learn. So starting in P13 we can see Jamie Bradfield up ahead of us. We don't want to make any mistakes. Down into turn 1 third gear we see a bit of an opening, so we throw our car down the inside. We've got Jamie alongside, and then some purple car now squeezing his way up. Makes a bit of contact with us, which I wasn't really happy about, with the fact that he kept hitting me with my car there. I thought that was a little bit out of order. But into the left-hander, fourth gear, get the position back, Mr. Plane on the outside just is never going to be able to find the grip. And I do find that on RF2, if you're not on the racing line, it does feel really slippery. And Jamie Bradfield makes a mistake, and we're able to tuck right in behind his rear wing. But he's playing it smart, and he's going to hold the inside into the long sweeping right hand. He moves across just before the corner, and it means that we can't really get the turn in that we want, and we're going to have to sit behind in P13 for a little bit longer. But it's still the opening lap of the race, still chances for people to make mistakes as we go through the long left hand. We make a bit of a left, cold tyres and all of that, you know. That being said, I haven't really felt the cold tyres effect massively on this game, not like I do on iRacing and other platforms. We bring it down into third gear for the first of the 2 chicanes. Nice and tidy, we get a good exit coming out of the corner, and we tuck in behind Bradfield. Now, because I don't have any setup, I think the car was actually running higher downforce, so the gearing wasn't quite as good, and as a result we're just not gaining as much on the straights as I think we ordinarily would. And well, you can hear that we're hitting on the rev limiter as we see a little gap down the inside, but we have to back out of it, and that's sensible as McNaughton. I think what he did there is fine, but it kind of caught me out at the time. Thankfully we don't make contact. I get a good exit coming out of the corner, and now we head down towards turn 1. Our first real overtake on rFactor 2 about to occur, and it's on the second lap of the race down into turn 1. So we brake at about 80 meters, back in, steps out a little, and then McNaughton turns across us. We try to get the car going as quickly as possible before the next cars come through. And let me know down in the comments, guys, whose fault do you think that was? Because I brake a bit late and the rears do lock for me, so that bit is my fault, but I think I had it saved if it wasn't for that contact. We're able to hold the inside. It's actually McNaughton who is behind us, and he gives us a cheeky little bump as well into the right-hander. That pushes us a bit wide on corner exit, and I turned in a bit too early for that left-hander, and now he's all over our rear end. He's looking for the outside for the sweeping right-hander. Just keep an eye on where his car's position is. Just want to know if I can fully swing across him. We get a good run though, and now we can try to get our heads down and try to close into the guy ahead. We're still in P16, so it could have been a lot worse. Through the left hand as we go, but we just turn in too early for that bit, and it forces the car out wide. Oh, I try to keep it in, but the back end steps out, and as we run wide, I have to make another correction. Back onto the track though, and well, we've lost the position, but it could have been a lot worse. And I guess it's all a learning experience. First race, you know, get to grips with everything, and well, we know we're quicker than this guy ahead, so let's just not make any mistakes. And yeah, he hits a very late apex as we close into McNaughton, and then, well, that happens. Massive desync. We end up crashing right into McNaughton. 2 other cars make contact with each other because of that. Obviously nothing I can do. And as you can see, my steering is completely screwed. I think there's a rear suspension is completely broken. So right now I'm just trying to get the car back to the pits because this is undrivable. As you can see, I can barely go over 40 miles an hour without, yeah, the rear end just trying to swap on me. I think the rear suspension is just completely shot, maybe on both sides actually. But yeah, it is what it is. We had about a 3-minute pit stop, and as we come out of the pits, we can see the race leader just behind us, so we take excessive care to get out of his way by going completely off track from Harvick before rejoining the circuit. And at this point I was really frustrated, but I thought, well, look, we're behind first, we're ahead of second, let's see what we can do, let's see where our pace is at for the next 6 or so laps. I know it says on our screen that we're only on lap 3, but for everyone else there are many more laps. Now, coming to the end of our 9th lap of the race, we're still in second essentially. We're behind the race leader who has pulled away, and in our side mirrors we can see second. So we had the pace, and yes, second was quicker than me, but not by a huge amount. So considering that, I'm actually very happy. Also, I had a chuck ton of fuel. You can see on the right of your screen 37.8 litres when I only use up 2 litres a lap. So I added in a lot of fuel went into the car during that stop, and it is what it is. So first race done, but the pace was there, and it is something that I can reflect positively on. But for the second race, it's a reverse grid race. With us finishing last, we weren't in the catch zone for that reverse grid, which I think is around P10 to P15. So that's a shame, but it does mean that we get to have a really fun race ahead of us. We know we've got more pace than the guys in front, so let's see what we can do. Starting from 22nd on the grid. 5 red lights in front of us. Our tyres wouldn't have cooled down too much. This time we get much better revs off the start, and it is a much better start as well. We move to the inside. We see a bit of a gap on the inside of Lee Davidson, but he covers that off, so we move back to the centre of the track. And up ahead we see an incident, so we move over to the right-hand side, but we get clipped on the rear, and that spins us around. And at this point, I won't lie, I was really frustrated, but it is what it is. That's racing. We've got to get our heads down and we've got to try to work our way up the field. Slightly later on lap 1, we've already gained lap 2, we've already gained a few positions due to some other incidents on the opening lap. But this is our first real chance to make an actual overtake. And into the triple left-hander, gain so much time. We're actually forced to lift so we don't run into the back of these two. We've got Vestergaard and Panasenko up ahead. And we could look for the inside into the chicane. Remember, we want to brake just after 100 meters. We're going to brake a little bit earlier because we are on the inside, so slightly less grip. We get the job done. We don't lose any time on the exit critically as well, which means Panasenko is easy pickings for us, I guess. We're going to tuck in the slipstream behind our fellow GPVWC driver. Try to have a think. He doesn't go defensive, which definitely surprised me at the time, but that means we can look to the inside. And, well, I don't really have any overspeed. We brake just before 100, down into second gear, and we get it tied in nicely. Just make sure that no one tries to send you into this left-hander, because it's easily done, and we take a little bit too much curve. I think I was a bit too eager to make sure that door was closed. But we continue pushing our way forward, and coming on to lap 4. We can see quite a few cars up ahead. We're in 16th, and that is a big train of cars on the brakes really late. We actually get it stopped just in time as Kvarstin has to jump on the brakes himself to avoid an incident. We've got Chris Williamson. The gap's open down into the final corner, so we put it in. But the back end steps out. We make a slight catch when we make contact. So sorry about that one. That was entirely on me. A bit too eager on the throttle. Just take a look to see if we can come across him, and the space isn't quite there, so we're going to jump on the brakes on the inside, down into third gear. You always want to take the curb a bit on the power, almost run wide, but we just about keep it within the track limits. And now we've got the slipstream on Kvarstin for P12. This is brave, looking for the inside down into turn 4. We have a think about it, but in the end we don't get quite far up the inside, so we can't make the move happen. And it just kind of throws off the whole rhythm for the next sequence of corners. So we're back down, or we're still in P13, I should say, behind Kvarstin, and trying to get our heads down and try to catch him. We know that we are quicker than the others through turns 8 to 11, and maybe that's because I've got more downforce on the car and the other drivers have to lift through there, whereas I can pretty much take it flat. But I don't think that is the quickest setup. So into the left-handers, I think we take a better line and we catch up a lot. And through the final one, we get a nice late apex that allows us to close in onto Kvarstin on corner exit. And now we can look down the inside into the chicane, going to brake nice and late. We end up running wide, but we're on the inside, so Kvarstin can't turn in. Job done. I would have liked to have braked a bit earlier. I thought I was going to make the apex, but with how it was, yeah, braking on the inside, as I said, on RF2, and what I learned from this race is, if you're not on the racing line, your braking point changes a lot more than I was anticipating with the likes of F1. Got to be careful though, because a lot of slipstream for the others. We turn in very early, drop it down into second gear, make sure there's no chance for someone to dive bomb us. And that's it, we're up into P12, so a great drive already, I think, and a recovery drive from the incident we had on the opening lap. And we've got P11 in front of us. So heads down again as we start our 6th lap of the race. We've completed 5 laps. Always remember on RF2, the top right of your screen tells you how many laps you've done, not what lap you're on. And through the left-hander, you can see how much we're pushing to try to close the guys up ahead. We dropped 2 tenths, so just need to be a little bit careful. But on the next lap, we catch up to Yakagorov. And this time we do look for turn 4 once again. We're slightly further up the inside, which means it's a much easier move to get done. Drop it down into 4th, and job is a good one. Up to P11, and we can see P10 maybe about 3-4 seconds up the road. I'm not quite sure, I haven't timed it, but they're in the distance. We've got quite a few laps remaining, so let's see if we can close them on. And just 3 laps later, we've caught up to the back of Andreas Leonidou. I think I said that about right. And through the long, sweeping left-hander, we are right up on to his backside. We could look for the inside down into the chicane. Do we give it a shot? We have a little peak, but not quite far up the inside to have a go. And in the end, I have to jump on the brakes because he misses his apex. And I was scared to go for the corner because I thought he was going to end up trying to take a late apex. And then he'd end up turning across me a little bit like Hamilton and Albon in Brazil. So I just backed out of the move. I think the smart thing to do. We can also see P10 or P9 further up the road. And now we look for the inside down into the chicane, into the top 10, braking about 120 meters, but the rear end just snaps on us at the end. We managed to keep it on the track though. I was quite pleased I did that, but just as stupid. It was just really stupid. There's not much else to say, and then the back end comes out through the final corner. So heads down again, closing the half a second to 1 second. Through the triple right-hander or the quadruple left-hander we go, not a right-hander. And there is just 1.5 laps remaining now in this race. We've almost finished 11 laps and we close up so much to Leonidou through the chicane. And I don't know if you can see, but look at the vibrations in the wheel. I flat spotted a tyre somewhere with how aggressively I've been driving. And it was really difficult to actually keep the steering wheel in a straight line because you can just see how much it's rumbling around. Like even now I'm trying to hold that deadly straight, but it's just shaking like an animal. But into the final chicane we go with 1 lap remaining, and this is the point where I'm thinking, okay, I've got to be patient, I've got to wait and bide my time and try to wait for the perfect opportunity to present itself so I don't throw this away. Run a bit wide on the final corner, but that doesn't really cost us any time. So turn 1, I guess our first opportunity is maybe looking for a move into turn 4. Then the other one is coming out of the triple left-hander, and then the back end just steps out, and you can see how greedy I was with the throttle. I could have maybe lifted off and saved the back end earlier and then gone on the power, but I would have lost more time, and I end up probably doing something that's worse, which was trying to get onto the power as early as possible. And you could see me really fighting with the car all the way through. Leonidou though runs wide, and I know that this race is not over yet. There's still opportunities for me to get in as I put on the power on the curve. Back end steps out, and I can't stress just how much I was pushing on this lap. You know, I didn't have, you know, any standards to hit as I run wide through the right-hander. Again, just pushing too hard, and honestly I had a lot of fun just pushing this crazy rather than taking it sensibly, and I'm glad that I'm able to do that. I don't have to worry about a championship as my back end comes out. I don't know if that was a case of being in dirty air, but that was so surprising because I didn't think at the time I made a mistake on the turn-in, and that's just, well, thrown away P10 down the drain. I think maybe I could have got P10 if I didn't do that, but it is what it is. And overall, to kind of sum up this whole experience with GPVWC, had a lot of fun. First ever race on RF2. I wouldn't say it went well, but we showed good pace considering that we weren't running with a setup as well, and that's going to be the case for the remaining races. I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out, and hopefully for next time we can be in a better position for the reverse grid race. Someone up ahead had a mistake, and that could have been P9 for us. That being said though, we take P11, and yeah, a good way to start our GPVWC campaign. The next race is 2 weeks after this, or as I'm releasing this YouTube video, it's in a couple of days. I stream all of these without a camera or a mic so that I can just focus on the races. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitch as well if you want to see whenever I do random races, or join on the Discord server when me and the boys have some just fun online get-together races. But thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, stay milky, and Assalamu'Alaikum.